One thing I would like to fix, and this would fix a lot of these issues, is I would like to add role queue to rank. Now, I know this is a very controversial topic, so let's just start with this one and we'll take it from there. Why do I want to add role queue to Marvel Rivals? There's plenty of good reasons, and I should have written them down. We're just going to have to play off my head here, but there's a lot of really good ones. First and foremost, it would make the rank system better as a whole. In what ways? Okay, let's start off rattling them off, so to speak. First, a lot of people get to a rank they don't deserve by playing, for example, support. If you guys don't notice, there's a vacuum of support players. So if you're a, let's say, diamond player, you can get to GM just by playing support if you just do a half-decent job over time. Because there are no good supports. If you are just better than those other supports in diamond, which you probably are if you're a diamond DPS player, you're going to get sucked up about at 1 tier above. So a lot of people, what they do is they pick support to climb, they get sucked up into higher elo, and then they just go, okay, well, I'm high elo now. And then they start picking DPS to play Spider-Man, BP, whatever, that they don't know how to play because they didn't get there by playing BP, they got there by playing something else. In the same vein, you have people being forced off of their picks or off of their roles just so they get forced off of their roles because somebody else in the team is like, I'm gonna play Spider-Man now. So the guy who's like an actual pro DPS player is like, oh well, we do need 2 supports, so he goes to play the support, and suddenly they even showed this in the EOMM video, and all of a sudden the team as a whole is worse off because the people who the one who's actually a good player is forced onto support, and you just can't have the same impact. It leads to a lot of frustration, and in most cases, it's just people flexing to other roles to make it work when everyone could have just been on the role that they queued up with in the first place. Additionally, I want to say with role queue, this is pretty much me, like how would you implement it, right? This is probably like just what I think, but I think 2-2 is the way to go. Just force 2-2. Why do I think we should force 2-2? It's because it's the most natural thing to do, and it has been sort of a thing in the game since forever. Yes, by forcing 2-2, that will mean that you'll see less creativity in the game. But if I'm going to be completely honest with you, the creativity in Marvel Rivals when it comes to compositions and whatnot, in almost every game, is like, yeah, we have 5 DPS and 1 support because nobody wants to play tank or support because you got 6 DPS mains or maybe 5 in one game. Or somebody just decided to randomly play DPS when they are not a DPS player. Most of the times, you don't see extra creativity, not in a game where there's solos and duos. And then people will say, well, okay, so if you can't pick 3 DPS to make up for 1 DPS being bad, then, like, what's the point? You would ideally not have a bad DPS in the first place because the role queue wouldn't let them get to that rank because they probably got there by being a support or getting boosted. So by adding a role queue, you will get supports that are your rank, let's say diamond. You're going to get tanks that are your rank, let's say diamond. You're going to get DPS that are your rank, let's say diamond. And you're not going to be able to swap around at all. And you're also not going to need to, unless you're like smurfing or something, right? We can't have a rank preference, or sorry, a role preference, because then people would just smurf. Everyone would just queue up support for classic queue times, and then tell their teammates, hey, I'm a diamond, I'm a GM smurf or whatever, give me the DPS or something. ottr will never be played with 2-2 role queue. So I was going to get to that. So certain heroes, especially when it comes to supports, we have, let's see, currently I would say heroes like Jeff, heroes like Ultron, heroes like Adam to a certain extent, Mantis. They're not really, or maybe some people would argue Rocket, they're not really main supports. They're sort of like a flex support, and you want them in a free support composition. First off, that is a design error. You're telling me that I'm not allowed to play a support. You tell me if I pick the support, somebody else also has to pick support just so we can actually have a fighting chance. That's a design flaw. Secondly, the solution is right there. All the supports be main supports. Make Ultron heal better or whatever it takes. Overwatch did this when they made they removed the off tank, so there's only 1 tank. Now they made all the tanks main tanks. There is a solution here. It just takes a little bit of work, but it is the optimal solution. Obviously, if you just add a 2-2 roll queue limit and call it a day, that's going to cause a lot of ripple effects, a lot of issues. But if we rebalance the game, where 2-2, because I'm pretty sure it is balanced for 2-2 in most cases, then I think that everyone will be better off either way. Most cases except supports, apparently. And additionally, yes, and additionally you also have, because of the way the roles work and the heroes work, this might be a different discussion. There are like 30-something heroes in the game, but you can't really play most of them. If you play like Celestial Plus and you don't run Loki Luna, you're throwing. Like, it's insane. That's just how metas work, I guess, but you have to play Loki Luna. You have to play Phoenix with her exploits and whatnot. You have to play this, you have to play that. You have to, there's so many tanks. You have to play Emma or Mag. All of these are just extras that have like niche uses, but when you break it down, you need to just those two. That's a different discussion, I guess, but worth mentioning too. By adding role queue and forcing 2-2, I think the game would just become healthier. And of course, you'd have to balance the game around 2-2 to work, but I think it would just lead to, again, it would just be healthier. It would just be better for the game overall. The second thing I would like to add, which I've seen a little bit on, I think on Twitter, that they've mentioned this, that they are experimenting with the idea of adding placement matches. So we recently made a short talking about this. I don't know if it's out by the time you guys see this, but basically, by not having placement matches, you are effectively doing My Solo to Celestial yourself. You're basically smurfing. If you're a diamond player and you get reset to, what did they reset to, silver? Then when there's a reset, you're gonna feel like a smurf until you get back to diamond. That's the whole point of that. The season resets, you come back, oh, you're silver now, oh, we get some easy games that have fun. You boost engagement, you play the game from where you buy more skins because you're having fun. And then once you hit diamond, things start getting hard. A lot of people, they're like, oh, well, it's hard, I don't want to play anymore. And they just stop playing. Or maybe to make a smurf, I don't know. But they don't stay on that account and grind it out in diamond. A lot of people, they just want that easy win to diamond and then don't want to play at all. And by adding placement matches, the problem, this is probably why NetEase has such an apprehension to doing so, is by adding placement matches, you remove the ability to effectively legally smurf, and you basically force, and now you make the players play the placement matches, they'll play their 10 matches, they'll end up in diamond because of placements, and then they're like, oh yeah, so I'm done for the season, and then they don't touch ranked or the game at all. That's a nightmare scenario for NetEase, who just had a surefire way of forcing people to play like 50 to 100 matches per season. So I can see their apprehension to it. But obviously, by not having placement matches, you have it's very easy to smurf. It's very easy to cause a lot of like disruptions in ranked. It's very easy to. There's a lot of people that get into ranks that don't deserve, and the game is just super chaotic whenever there's a reset. Whereas if there were placement matches, maybe you would cap them to like diamond or something. So it can't go higher than diamond. You can place between bronze and diamond, depending on the bell curve. People would kind of get sorted around the rank that they deserve and then would grind from there. That would be a way healthier way to do it. I think placement matches are meaningless without a role queue because you have to fill in sometimes. That is a good point. You'd have to combine the placement matches with the role queue ideally, but even by adding one or the two, it will still lead to a net benefit. But absolutely, you could just run support in placement matches and then play DPS after or during, right? Do you think there should be more tanks and subs? I think they should definitely add more tanks and subs, but the problem is like most tanks and supports are currently not even viable to play. So maybe they should look into that before adding more of them. And then the final point that I can think of right now, I'll probably think of something more that I've been advocating for a real long time before it even became a problem. Is you need to remove performance-based gains. Marvel Rivals has performance-based games. They've explained exactly how it works. If I remember correctly, it's somewhere along the lines of, okay, so you played this hero for X amount of time, let's say 10 minutes, and then depending on your performance in the game compared to other people who play your hero in your rank, your stats, you would get like a rank coefficient that raises like how many points you get. It additionally also compares you to your team. If your team all underperform and you perform well, you will get more points, or in inverse, if your entire team performs well and you perform poorly, you will gain less or lose more. This is a fucking terrible system, and I noticed this was a thing when we started Solo Duo Celestial, because you could tell there was performance-based gains, and even before it was as heavy as it is now, I said this is bad, because it promotes, there's a lot of playstyles that are not quantifiable, or there are a lot of ways you can help your team that is not quantifiable. You can, for example, if I take a lot of space, but I don't shoot anyone, I'm just pressuring them off without shooting them, without taking damage or anything, it's just like we look at each other, I'm pushing them off because I'm just aura farming them off. I actually get punished for that because I don't get damage farmed. There's no stat for that. I don't think the game keeps in mind what target I'm shooting, just that I am shooting a target. So if I'm doing a lot of damage, but I'm shooting the wrong target, and we end up losing because I'm not shooting the support or whatever, then I'll still get more points when I shouldn't, for example. It leads to a selfish playstyle, where the only thing that matters is your KDA, etc. And people, when they realize that they're losing, a lot of them do is they just go DPS and try to secure final hits. That is the most heavy stat you want, is final hits, especially as DPS. You also have roles such as tank, especially with the lack of role queue. If you're solo tanking, you can't get good stats. You are literally fucked. If you solo tank, this is the like egregious if you really think about it. If you solo tank in Marvel Rivals in its current state with performance-based ranking, you will not have good stats because you don't have the space to ever have good stats. You're too busy not fucking dying, right? A solo tank can do nothing else but not dying and trying to protect their team. And it will probably have a pretty shitty KD, and it'll probably have very, like, maybe high damage block, but it won't have much damage or get any good ults off because they're too busy not dying. And when you compare their performance to somebody in another game who had 2 tanks, it's night and day what they could accomplish. And the solo tank who had to take the brunt of the entire enemy team, he gets like plus 15. And the enemy tank who had another tank helping them out so they both could make plays, goes like plus 25. Like solo tanking, you're literally fucked by the system and the game. That's why I don't play tank anymore. It's so stupid. And again, so you have unquantifiable things such as the space you take. You have unquantifiable thing. For example, when I play Emma, there's a play I like to do where I go Emma and I put a shield. And this is more meta now, but it didn't used to be. And you put this in front of the support so they can't heal. That cuts off the heals from my targets, and my teammates can kill them. Sometimes I can kill them, but most of the time my team ends up getting them. I get no credit for this, but it wins fights constantly. But I don't get credit for this. My games are terrible because I don't use the shield selfishly or walk forward and kill people with it. I don't know. Even though we win more fights because of it. And there's examples of that in every single game, every single hero. But I think this is like the most obvious one. And for example, if I stand on my supports as an Emma, enemy team has a Black Panther, and I'm like, okay, I just gotta stalk this Black Panther. What ends up happening is I just stand on my teammates. The Black Panther never dives because he's scared of me, but I'm playing Emma, and I'm aura farming him so my supports are fine. We win the game, but I got no damage, I got no kills. And compared to another Emma in another game who got a lot of damage and kills because they were just brawling the whole time, and the other Emma might even have lost, and I might have won. But the coefficient shows that she lost less points than I gained. I literally had a game earlier today. We played Hawkeye. We farmed the lobby. Went server admin. Fucking played so well. Enemy team did dive us quite a bit, but we played really, really well. And then we swapped to attack. We had to cap the first point. And what ended up happening is all of my teammates, all 5 of them, pushed up like all the way into the enemy team and just to farm kills. And it was a solo Iron Fist on a point, stopping me from moving it forward. So I had to spend the entire game on attack, just trying to like harass the Iron Fist and like stop him from taking a point. And he just pushed the point forward as a Hawkeye. I got 15, I think I got 15 points again. Even though we won it, even though I farmed. Because the entire attack I got 1 kill. And I did barely any damage. Because I was just trying to get the point to the first point so we could actually win it. You are, with performance-based gains, you are punished for being a team player, and people will intentionally or unintentionally abuse it. You'll have people intentionally abusing it, but they're like, again, they pick a hero, we're gonna farm final hits, that's it. Or you'll have people picking, like, that's the intentional part of it, but then you have the unintentional part of it, which is actually worse in my opinion, because what happens with a system like this is people who do these things just unintentionally, just because they are bad players or selfish players, they will float upwards and have no idea why.
Look who's here.
Actual team players are stuck in, let's say, Celestial, and then the selfish players are higher up. For example, it's not a perfect example, but you see what I'm saying? They're just gonna find themselves going higher and higher because of the games, even with the 50% win rate, even with a less than 50% win rate, because they're just playing for their own stats rather than actually trying to go from win to win. And I just think that performance-based gains, I don't know why it was in the game to begin with. I don't know why we made them heavier. Well, it is a casual game after all. But if you look at it from a competitive standpoint, it is a joke and should not be in the game. The only things that should matter is your win, if you win or if you lose. If there's a rank difference between the enemy team and my team, then the winning team should, you know, gain more if they're the underdog, or lose more if they're the favorites, or whatever. There should definitely be like some modifier to that, but your performance in the game should not matter because there's no way to do it properly. And it's ripe for abuse or just a broken system overall. It's a genuine strat. Just play for yourself and get your points. You're gonna be fine. They need to remove performance-based gains because over time, if you have a 50% win rate or 45% win rate, that's why Jeff's climbed so high. The DPS Jeff's just climbed with a 45% win rate and he got into like high ranks because the average Jeff isn't that good at like getting big ults. They just kind of heal in the back at your dog shit. as we've seen in Assault to Celestial. So if you just get a few like ult kills with him, you're immediately in the top 99th percentile or whatever, and you're just gonna get like hella points from it. MVP every single game. So overall, I think, have I explained everything? I think I might miss a few things. So overall, again, if the three big changes I would make, in addition to like just tweaking the stacks change a little bit, is adding roll Q in the way we described it, in a way you like it. Adding placement matches, adding and then removing performance-based gains, because it's just a broken system. It can be abused intentionally or unintentionally. It just leads to a worse ranked experience for everyone involved. The only thing that matters is whether you win or you lose. It doesn't matter if I died 10 times. If I jumped a point 10 times, so we could actually take the point, I shouldn't be punished for that. People will avoid walking to the point because they're too scared of losing their elo. Do I think they should prioritize match quality over queue times? From your video, it seems like they prioritize queue times over everything. Yes. Assuming ranked works like they said in the video, they definitely need to put more emphasis on quality over just match over time. By adding roll queue and doing all these other changes, however, that will naturally cause a slightly longer rank, because now you're not looking for 12 players anymore. You're looking for 4 players of each rank, or sorry, of each role, and then you put them all together rather than just the 12 first you find. It will naturally lead to longer queue times, but the quality will automatically be better. But I think roll queue is like the #1 thing that would make this so much better, and everything else is kind of, if everything else follows, there's just small tweaks they can make that will make it even better.